If you thought the movie theater scene in episode 1 of It, Welcome to Derry was brutal and violent, episode 7 blew that away. The latest episode of Welcome to Derry is both heartbreaking and great television, and it highlights how generational drama and evil have taken hold in Derry, and that only togetherness and companionship will be able to defeat it. To see the Easter eggs in the episode, why Pennywise works better in this series than even in the movies, as well as where we might be headed in the season 1 finale, make sure you stay around till the end of the video. Episode 7 opens in 1908 at the Pennywise the Dancing Clown show at the carnival. I love this because it adds continuity to the entire It story, as well as adds to the idea that Derry's history is cyclical and constantly repeating itself in different ways. The episode begins in a carnival, just as we see the more modern version of that carnival in the beginning of King's book and the opening of It Chapter 2. The land where this carnival takes place, by the way, in 1908, is the exact same spot where they'll find the pillar later in the episode. We see Bob Gray in all its glory here, entertaining kids with his show. The show mirrors Gray's life, which is a tragedy that includes the death of his wife and performing partner. It's actually really sad once you realize that it's about the man's life, as his wife's costume floats around on stage like a ghost. Gray's pain would be an important part of the opening of this episode. During the show, the villain is the beaver, whose eyes and teeth look very much like those of Pennywise when it takes the clown form. It's more full circle stuff too, as Adrian wears a beaver cap at the opening of It Chapter 2. Gray also does the dance that went viral in the 2017 It Chapter 1, and I think the viral nature of it is referenced by all the kids climbing on the stage to do the same thing themselves. In the distance, we see a child up in the barn watching the show. But is that really a child? What do you think? Of course it's not. It's It. In Gray's Pennywise wagon, we see the dynamic between he and Ingrid, as Ingrid reveals her periwinkle costume to him. Except she didn't come up with the name Periwinkle, it was her mother's stage name, and Bob says it when talking about a potential father-daughter show.
The Pennywise and Periwinkle Show!
Bob laments that his act is in a carnival, not a circus. He says that when he returns to the circus, his next act will be something no one has ever seen. And that's a hint about what Pennywise is about to become.
Can you smell the circus, Georgie? There's peanuts. Cotton candy?
Bob also asks his daughter to show him her bow.
Show me the bow.
A moment that would be important in just a bit. This whole scene shows the sadness in Bob Gray about the loss of his wife. The pain that makes his daughter yearn to make him happy. It drove him to alcoholism, as we see him taking a drink even during the middle of his show. While Dick Halloran turned to alcohol to dull his shine, Bob Gray's turned to it to dull his pain. We then see Bob out by himself before his next show, drinking and having a cigarette. The fact that he's by himself is the central theme of It stories in general, the isolation created by pain, fear, and suffering. It's in that isolation that It will strike, as the being does here. But before It arrives, Bob wipes his mouth and gets some of his red makeup on his napkin, a napkin that has the initials RG for Robert Gray. And he's saddened by that. It's a nice precursor to what the napkin's about to look like. It shows up in the form of a child and mentions that the children seem drawn to the clown.
The children seem drawn to you.
It is recognizing a potential new strategy here, a way to bring victims to him rather than having to pursue them himself. But that's not the only reason It seeks out Bob Gray here. Bob's pain and sadness bring It in like a moth to a flame. It's able to lure Bob into the woods, where all that would remain of him is the napkin, now fully stained with Bob Gray's blood. I hope Season 3 includes a scene where we see this attack and the napkin being left behind. And with the full circle moments we've already gotten thus far from Andy Muschietti, I would bet that we get it. After the opening credits, we're back in the black spot, where the merry band of assholes, I mean patriots, are there to get their hands on Hank Grogan. They head inside, and there's a standoff with the men inside. Stan sees a white woman inside and tells her she should be ashamed of herself.
Norma? Norma Price? Should be ashamed.
Clear indication that these men believe that what they're doing is 100% in the right. Bowers, the main spokesperson for the lynch mob, says they only want Hank Grogan, but he's absolutely lying here. These men are driven by their hatred, a hatred not created by It, by the way, but one only amplified by the creature's feeding cycle. After a standoff with weapons drawn, the lynch mob acts like they're about to leave, but chains the door shut and torches the black spot with Molotov cocktails. The fact that they have these at the ready shows they were never going to let anyone leave alive. They still do this after seeing women and children inside, which only stresses the level of garbage these people are. Terror unfolds inside the black spot. The mob has it surrounded and shoots anyone who tries to flee through a window or door. In the chaos, Dick sees the souls let free from the lockbox and chooses to interact with Seski when she walks on the screen. Once Dick interacts with her, her eyes go from the cloudy haze that they were to clear once again. If you remember, Dick said earlier that the ghost can't see him until he interacts with them. Choosing to interact with Seski has made them all aware of him, something Pennywise is happy to bring up when Dick faces him.
Seeing things? Oh, I think they see you too!
Dick knew the refrigerator was leaking and the floor would be rotting, so he kicks away an exit through the floor. He helps Hank, Ronnie, and Will escape, but before Rich and Marge can get to the hole in the floor, the roof collapses, blocking the way. Rich and Marge are trapped. Thinking back to a previous episode when Marge calls Rich a knight, Rich does the knightly thing and saves the fair maiden inside a refrigerator. Maybe he's seen Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, or maybe he just had this idea. After a heartbreaking scene, that's a much better version of this one.
Be right now.
Rich covers the refrigerator to keep the fumes from getting inside, and eventually passes out from the smoke inhalation and dies. Meanwhile, Pennywise has been drawn to the carnage and is wreaking havoc inside the black spot, but he stops for a snack along the way, leading to this absolutely perfect line.
Do I have face on my face?
Outside the black spot, the mob finally disperses, their heroic masked and idealist work done, except Stan Kirsch is unable to start his car. It's not just a stupid horror movie trope this time, though, as there's a reason the car won't start. Ingrid, in full costume as Periwinkle, steps out to confront Stan. She's disabled his vehicle. Stan tells Ingrid that she looks ridiculous, and she tells him that this is who she really is.
This is me, Stanley. This is who I really am.
Then Stan confirms those creepy wife-beater vibes we got in earlier episodes when he delivers this line.
Black and blue is what you're gonna be if you don't get back to the house and wipe this ridiculous crap off your face.
But Stan isn't going to get a chance to do that. Pennywise is coming up behind him, and after Ingrid greets her father,
Hello, Papa.
Pennywise shows Stan the proper way to use a cleaving knife. Ingrid is still convinced her father's in there, and she begs Bob Gray to come back to her. Pennywise tells Ingrid he'll be going to sleep now, but Ingrid tries to stop him. Then Pennywise turns evil in just one look. He taunts Ingrid with things her father said, including, "Show me your bow."
Show me the bow.
Ingrid realizes it's not really Bob Gray in there, but it's too late. She knows he's gone, and it confirms that for her.
Oh, I ate him.
Then Ingrid is shown the deadlights. She's not dead, but instead in the catatonic state the deadlights put you in. And it won't be the final time we see the deadlights in this episode. It then follows through on his promise to go to sleep, but that'll be short-lived. However, we see it in a pool of blood, body parts, and who knows what else. And the imagery is very similar to what Pennywise's face looked like when feasting earlier. Derry blames the black spot fire on the black soldiers inside and paints the mob members as citizens just showing up to help them. This is another example of the hatred and racism present in Derry, one that it only turns up to 11 from its normal 8. They also think Hank Grogan died in the fire because Charlotte took his clothes and left them in the charred destruction. The Council of Maturin meets and declares the cycle ended. Two things stand out in this scene. First, the difference between how the members react. Older members who have seen multiple cycles are like, oh well, it wasn't too bad this time. And younger ones are devastated that they can't do anything more to stop it. And second, there's this gem of a line from one of the older members of the group.
See you shit asses in 27 years.
It kind of sounds like when someone old wants to swear in a way that might make them seem cool with younger people. I kind of love it though. But Id isn't the only evil on the loose in Derry. Up next, we'll look at the real villains in this story and what the ending means for next week's finale. Charlotte has Hank hidden at the Hanlon home and says she can reach out to a friend who will help. This is Ingrid, who Charlotte doesn't know is incapacitated and not really interested in helping anyway. This forces Charlotte to turn to Rose, who does take Hank in, and they begin to plot to get Hank out of the country when something else occurs. More on that in a minute. Leroy Hanlon, meanwhile, is confronting his superiors about the destruction, but Dick Halloran says he might have a way to find one of the pillars holding it in Derry. With Halloran's help, the Air Force finds the pillar, which is another shard larger than the one Lily had. When they open it, it's in a turtle shell, a clear nod to Maturin from Stephen King's universe. Leroy is told he's no longer needed and that the Air Force is taking the shard to study it. Leroy had earlier been told that they wanted to close the cage in on it, one piece at a time, but that was clearly a lie. The shard is placed in a box and put in a truck, just like the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and taken to the Air Force Base. Then Leroy learns the truth. The military has no desire to study the object either. It wants to destroy it. Citing civil unrest and wanting things to return to where they were good, aka when it was great for the people in power and the in-group, and everyone else just shut up and complied, the military wants to unleash it to create fear across the country, because fear is the greatest lever of control. Shaw references, quote, the enemy within, and Hanlon accuses him of wanting to make America Derry. Two statements that should need no explanation whatsoever if you've been watching any news the past few years. The shard is destroyed, leaving the cage open. This causes Pennywise to awaken, as maybe it's the cage that makes him need to sleep. The base, previously out of Pennywise's reach, is now well within it. Will receives a phone call that he thinks is from his friends, but is really it, who appears atop the refrigerator. Pennywise attacks Will, showing him the deadlights and causing him to be in the same trance as Ingrid. If you look closely, Pennywise has read in the opposite places of Sesky, stressing the opposite sides of the two. This sets up a final episode where Pennywise has been freed from his cage and is free to attack anywhere. It has taken Will to lure Leroy to face it. Presumably, they'll find a way to shut the cage again so it returns to its slumber, but a lot of characters are probably going to die along the way. What did you think of episode 7? Let me know in the comments, and remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more on it and everything else horror. Have a great day, everybody, and stay scared out there.